What happens when you have an empty house? Empty house means that a planet is not existing in that house. There is not enough planets to fit all of the houses. So everyone is bound to have some empty houses. Some more than others, because there are times where planets can be conjunct with each other, meaning that they're sitting together in the same house. Like me, I have 4 or 5 planets sitting in my first house. And then there's others where their planets are all scattered all over the chart. What does this mean to have an empty house? An empty house doesn't really have any kind of significance other than the fact that it just basically means there's no planet there. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that it's not being influenced or that nothing is going on per se in that house. What you would need to look at is to see which sign is in that house. So the same way as we spoke about in the past, when there are 12 houses, right? And there are 12 zodiac signs, and the zodiac signs stay in chronological order. Every house has a sign in it, and every sign is ruled by a planet. Let's use Scorpio in the 5th house. If Scorpio was in the 5th house, what would happen? Well, let's say Mars, which is the ruling planet of Scorpio, was in the 10th house. And that automatically means that since the 5th house is associated with children, it shows that your children will be looking out for themselves. They will be looking to kind of tend to themselves first before tending to others. Doesn't mean that they're selfish. It's just that they're self-aware. They have an idea of what they want in this life. Another thing I have seen, because 10th house is the house of career, and it's also the house of society. It's the karma house. It's the house where you fulfill your duty in society. It shows that your child will be very interested in working early. You know those children during this winter time in the US, where the moment it starts snowing, you have these young kids and like 10, 9 years old, 12 years old, 13-year-old going out with a shovel to make a few bucks, $20, $10, $15 per house to shovel the whole driveway. I used to do that as well, so I know the grind. I know how it is. And you go ahead and you decide like how much you want to charge for doing your whole driveway and everything. Your children will be looking to work early. The moment I was able to work, I started working. I was working, I believe, at the age of 16. And even at the age of 9, 10, 11, I was working at a youth center. So it was kind of like work per se, but there was a commitment, and they were paying me $100 per week. $100 per week for a 10-year-old is pretty good. Let's say if the Mars that is ruling the Scorpio in the 5th house was in the 12th house, then I can see a person, instead of sending their children to a public school, they'll send them to a private school, or they'll send them to a special school, or maybe they'll homeschool them, or most likely they'll send them overseas. They'll send them overseas to go to school, to go to some kind of special school, and they'll pay for all of their schooling, everything like that. And for the mentioning of Mars being in a 10th house, the parent may hand them a business, and they would already know how to run the business. So this is how you can see quote unquote empty houses. It's never truly empty. It's just a way of saying, like, for people who are ignorant about astrology, let alone Vedic astrology, where when they don't see any planets in the house, they don't know what it means. So they say, oh, my house is empty, so there's no importance there. There's a large importance there. What else do we know about Scorpio in the 5th house? I can go on for hours talking about it, but like some really key factors is they have to be very mindful about their spine and their gut health and their stomach health. Why? Because I also know medical astrology, the 5th house is your stomach. And your spine, the 5th house is also your spine, because it's the house of trading. It's the house of fun and games. How do people really enjoy lots of fun and games nowadays? Video games. What does that entail? They're sitting down for hours all day. If they're trading stocks, sitting down for a good amount of time trading. You can see how that can affect your stomach health, your spine health. But what else do we know? A person can have a very intense love life. And when I say intense, yes, it can be sexual, it can be great, but it can be very volatile. very volatile romantic relationships. Why? Because Scorpio is the most violent, most volatile sign out of all of the other zodiac signs. It's unpredictable. It's wild. It's unpredictable. It's just always bring unexpected events based on where it's placed. But of course, when I do a reading, I go over everything for a whole entire hour, so you guys will get a lot more depth information. And I actually go over all of the basic foundation. Every single client that comes to me, we always do level 1 reading, which is the life foundation. So that way you can understand why your life is the way it's been. Because you have different themes in each house that's going on, that's manifesting. I know someone who has Scorpio in their 7th house, and as I told you, it's the most violent sign. And they have always dealt with very volatile relationships. The past 3 relationships they had, all of their partners has passed away. Or had very severe health issues to the point where they have cancer and diabetes and like bedridden. Not to say that you should go and look to see if you have Scorpio in the 7th house, let alone I don't even know what software you're using, if it's going to even be accurate information for you to be even for you to be able to determine if the kind of influences are there in order to make that as a result for you or not a result for you. So you should have made that decision on your own. So the link that's there, Vedic Astrology reading, in the description for you to find out what exactly the heck is going on, how and why you wired your life the way it is prior to you landing in this body, and how to change it. This is my simple analysis on empty houses. Houses are never truly empty. They have signs which are ruled by specific planets. And if you have any questions, comment down below and I'll make a video about it in my upcoming videos. Namaskar.